In a landmark decision, the Supreme Court has struck down the Trump administration's tariffs, sending shockwaves through the political and economic landscape of the United States. The justices declared these tariffs an unconstitutional overreach of presidential power, emphasizing the importance of checks and balances at the highest level of government. This historic decision dismantles a trade framework that has defined American economic strategy for nearly a decade, affecting everything from Wall Street to small businesses across the country. The ruling directly challenges the president's authority to shape international trade, a power that is now firmly checked and balanced by the judiciary. For everyday Americans, this isn't just legal jargon or political maneuvering. It's a significant shift that impacts daily life, from the cost of groceries to the price tags on everyday goods. Over the years, tariffs have been widely blamed for raising prices on imported goods, straining family budgets, and making it harder for many to make ends meet. Now, businesses across the nation must rethink their supply chains, reconsider investments, and adapt to a rapidly changing trade environment that could reshape entire industries. With this decision, the Supreme Court has redrawn the lines of power between the White House and Congress, reinforcing the constitutional principle that no single branch should dominate trade policy. The ruling limits executive authority and places renewed emphasis on Congress's vital role in shaping the nation's commerce and trade laws, potentially leading to new debates and legislation. As the dust settles, uncertainty looms over the future of American trade policy. Lawmakers, businesses, and families alike are left wondering how this new balance of power will play out in the months and years ahead. The question remains, what happens next? Will Congress step up to fill the void, or will new legal battles emerge as the country navigates this uncharted territory? The jobs and industries dependent on global trade now face an uncertain future, with workers, entrepreneurs, and investors all bracing for potential changes in the economic landscape. As a new chapter in American trade policy begins, the nation stands at a crossroads, ready to redefine its role in the global economy and the balance of power at home. The Supreme Court's 6-3 decision rebukes the executive branch's use of trade laws. The court ruled that tariffs enacted under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act exceeded the law's intent. The ruling states the executive cannot bypass Congress's authority to regulate commerce. Supporters see it as a victory for the rule of law, restoring Congress's trade authority. Critics warn it weakens the nation's ability to protect domestic industries. Financial markets reacted with volatility, with import-heavy industries surging and domestic producers hit. The ruling sets a precedent for presidential power, requiring legislative approval for future tariffs. The immediate impact ends Trump-era tariffs, but the long-term consequence rebalances power in Washington. This decision will shape American economic statecraft for decades. A tariff is a tax placed on goods that are brought into a country from abroad. In simple terms, it's a fee that governments charge on imported products, making them more expensive than they would otherwise be. Tariffs have been used for centuries as a way for countries to control trade and protect their own economies. Think of it like a cover charge for foreign products entering the U.S. Before these goods can be sold in American stores, importers must pay this extra cost, which often gets passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices. For example, imagine a 25% tariff on German cars. If a car originally costs $40,000, the tariff adds an extra $10,000, raising the price to $50,000. This makes imported cars less competitive compared to American-made vehicles, and can influence what people choose to buy. Tariffs are designed to make foreign goods more expensive, encouraging shoppers to choose domestic products instead. This can help local businesses grow and keep money circulating within the country. This kind of protectionism can boost sales for American companies, leading to more jobs, higher wages, and increased investment in local industries. When domestic companies thrive, communities benefit from greater economic stability and opportunity. But tariffs aren't just about economics. They're also powerful tools in international negotiations. Governments may use tariffs to pressure other countries to change their trade practices, open up their markets, or address unfair policies. However, tariffs can have downsides. Many American industries rely on imported materials to make their products. When tariffs raise the cost of these materials, it can lead to higher production costs, which are often passed on to consumers through increased prices. Other countries may respond with retaliatory tariffs, targeting American exports. This can spark trade wars where both sides keep raising tariffs, making it harder for businesses to sell their goods abroad and hurting exporters. While tariffs can protect certain industries, they can also disrupt global supply chains. Companies that depend on parts from around the world may face delays, shortages, or higher costs, which can even lead to empty shelves in stores. The ultimate goal of tariffs is to shield domestic industries from foreign competition and sometimes to force changes in the behavior of global competitors. But the effects are rarely simple, and the outcomes can be unpredictable. Tariffs are a double-edged sword. While they can help some sectors of the economy, they can also create challenges for others. Economists often debate their effectiveness, as the impacts can ripple through the entire economy in unexpected ways. For everyday people, tariffs can mean higher prices at the store and fewer choices. For businesses, they can mean uncertainty and the risk of losing access to important markets if other countries retaliate. Understanding tariffs is crucial for anyone interested in how international trade works. They are a key part of the global economy, affecting everything from the price of cars to the availability of everyday goods. The recent Supreme Court ruling has reshaped how tariffs will be used in the future, setting new legal standards and influencing trade policy for years to come. As global trade continues to evolve, tariffs will remain a complex but important tool in shaping economic relationships. Proponents of Trump-era tariffs argued they were necessary to combat unfair trade practices. They aimed to level the playing field, reshore jobs, and protect critical industries. Tariffs were seen as a lifeline for industries like steel and aluminum, crucial for national security. Opponents argued tariffs harmed the economy, raising prices for consumers and sparking retaliatory measures. They highlighted the hidden tax on American families and the damage to exporters. Free trade advocates believed open markets lead to innovation and prosperity. They argued trade disputes should be resolved through negotiation, not unilateral tariffs. The debate over tariffs reflects broader tensions between protectionism and free trade. The Supreme Court's decision shifts the focus back to Congress for future trade policy. The Supreme Court decision centered on the separation of powers in the Constitution. The question was whether the president could impose tariffs without Congress's consent. The Trump administration used Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act for justification. Opponents argued this was a broad interpretation of national security, bypassing Congress's role. The court's ruling reaffirms Congress's authority over trade policy. This decision limits the president's power to unilaterally regulate foreign commerce. The Supreme Court's majority opinion emphasizes Congress's power to regulate foreign commerce. Chief Justice Roberts dismantled the government's defense, stating executive discretion isn't absolute. The ruling narrows Section 232's scope, requiring a direct link between imports and national defense. The dissenting opinion argued Congress had delegated this power, and the court overstepped. The decision is a victory for those advocating a stronger congressional role in trade policy. It forces lawmakers to take ownership of trade policy, ending unilateral presidential action. The ruling reaffirms the legislative branch's primary role in trade matters. The Supreme Court's decision creates economic winners and losers, impacting your wallet. Winners include companies relying on imports, benefiting from reduced costs and potential growth. Losers are domestic industries like steel, facing renewed competition and potential job losses. Consumers may see lower prices on goods as tariffs are removed, stretching family budgets. The end of retaliatory tariffs benefits American farmers and manufacturers, reopening global markets. The ruling boosts export-oriented industries, creating jobs even as protected industries face challenges. The decision reshapes the economic landscape, with mixed impacts on different sectors. The long-term effects will unfold as the economy adjusts to the new trade environment. The Supreme Court decision redraws the power map in Washington, ending Congress's delegation of trade authority. Lawmakers must now reclaim their constitutional duty to regulate foreign commerce. Future tariffs require legislative approval, making the process more complex and transparent. Congress faces the challenge of balancing diverse economic interests in trade policy. This shift presents an opportunity for a more democratic and representative trade policy. A wider range of voices and interests can shape balanced and sustainable trade policies. The ruling calls Congress back into the ring, defining the nation's economic direction. The decision ends unilateral presidential action, requiring legislative negotiation. Congress must rebuild its expertise in trade matters, navigating political gridlock. The Supreme Court's decision redefines the legislative branch's role in trade policy. The Supreme Court's landmark ruling has sent ripples through the heart of American economic policy, prompting a fundamental rethinking of the nation's global economic role. This decision challenges long-standing assumptions about how the United States engages with the world and sets the stage for a new era in trade policy. Industries that have long relied on protective tariffs now face a period of significant adjustment and uncertainty. At the same time, sectors focused on exports, like agriculture, technology, and advanced manufacturing, may see new opportunities for growth as barriers fall and access to global markets expands. For American consumers, the promise of lower prices on everyday goods is real, offering relief at the checkout counter. Yet, this shift brings concerns about job losses in industries that once depended on government protection, raising questions about economic security for many families. Policymakers now face the challenge of managing this transition. Investing in worker retraining, education, and support programs will be essential to help displaced workers adapt and thrive in a changing economy. On the international stage, the Supreme Court's decision signals a renewed commitment to a rules-based approach to trade, strengthening America's credibility and influence in global economic forums. U.S. allies and trading partners have welcomed this shift, seeing it as an opportunity to forge new multilateral trade agreements and deepen economic cooperation on fair and transparent terms. The debate over the future of American trade policy is far from over. In Congress, lawmakers are actively seeking innovative ways to address unfair practices abroad while balancing the needs of American workers and businesses at home. The nation now stands at a pivotal crossroads, weighing the benefits of open markets against the desire for domestic protection. The choices made today will have lasting consequences for generations to come. Ultimately, the Supreme Court has clarified who holds the power to answer this question. It is the American people, acting through their elected representatives in Congress, who will determine the path forward. The road ahead is filled with both challenges and opportunities. The decisions made now will shape America's economic identity and its role on the world stage for a generation, defining what it means to be a leader in the global economy.